Hi, everybody, it's Rose, and I wanted to talk about my identity today because I've received a lot of questions recently about what it means to be a non binary trans woman. If you don't already, I would so appreciate you subscribing to my channel and giving this video a like. As I've gotten older and as I've learned more about myself and more about the world and more about gender, the more I'm peeling back, all of these layers of myself that I have put on in order to, make people feel comfortable or to fit into society. And I'm done doing that. I want to be myself. I want to be, as comfortable with myself as I am. I want to be the most authentic version of me. And this is where I'm at now. I've come out so many times, and I feel like, as humans, we all learn and grow and we evolve as we age and as we learn things. And so, this is just the next step of me finding out who I am as I get older. I really do prefer the term non-binary over genderqueer or gender fluid or a demi-woman. While those terms all do describe me in one way or another, non-binary trans woman just feels the best because I was assigned male at birth. I transitioned to be more feminine, so I'm trans feminine. So I love trans feminine. I love trans woman because I'm so closely aligned with womanhood, and I am a woman. I'm just not only a woman, I'm just not a binary woman because there's more to me than just, this stereotypical high femme identity, especially internally. And it's not something that you have to understand in order to respect. So it's been a minute since I've been out as non-binary, but a lot of people are still like really confused at what non-binary is, let alone a non-binary woman. So let's break it down. Non-binary is an umbrella term that is encompassing of all identities that don't fit into this binary idea that there's only man or woman. A lot of people assume that non-binary is the same as agender, and I want to say that being non-binary doesn't mean that I don't align with any gender, and it doesn't mean that I'm neither man or woman. Being non-binary just means that I don't agree with the idea that gender is black and white or there's only two options. I view gender as more of a spectrum. I wanted to clarify that my sexuality is separate from my gender. So sexuality is who I'm attracted to, whereas my gender is who I am. And my gender is internal. So it's who I am inside, it's how I feel about myself, it's how I understand myself and how I exist. But my gender presentation is a different thing entirely. That's how I exist in the 3D world. It's how I look, it's how I dress, it's how I behave, based off of societal expectations and preconceived ideas. People gender, makeup or long hair, nails, jewelry, things like that is more of my gender presentation. But none of that makes me a woman. It just so happens to be that I like to look feminine, and our society defines these things as being congruent with being a woman. Whereas my sex is like my physical body and like my sexual characteristics, right? So these are all separate things that interact and are related to each other, but they don't necessarily equate to one another, if that makes sense. So I am a non-binary transgender woman. I was assigned male at birth. The doctors, when I was born, looked at me and said, "This is a boy." And my family agreed when they looked at me when I was born that I'm a boy. And so I was socialized as a boy. But then as I grew up, I fell in love with girly things. My presentation and my interests were always feminine. I loved to play with Barbies as a kid. I loved to play dress up as a kid. And I, didn't know the word transgender until high school. I didn't know that transgender people existed. I didn't have any true understanding of what it meant to be trans. So when I figured out my sexuality, I thought that being gay explained my effeminacy. That just kind of goes to show that effeminacy does not equate to womanhood. Effeminacy is characteristics, interests, and, physical looks potentially, that do not equate to gender because there are very effeminate men, there are drag queens, I was very effeminate as a boy and I did drag, but that didn't make me a woman. What made me a woman is internal. It's who I am inside. It's how I understand myself. It's how I feel inside. And so I came out as trans at 19 years old. And I, for the longest time, thought that, in order to be a woman, I had to be as effeminate as possible. So I chased after this idea of femininity and I tried to conquer it. But I feel like somewhere along the way, it kind of conquered me. That being said, I still really love presenting feminine. As you can see, I love makeup, I love nails, I love having my hair long and curly. I love wearing low cut shirts. I have had 3 gender affirming surgeries in the last year. So I've had surgery to lean into my gender euphoria, to feel more connected to my body and to continue to fall more and more in love with my body. But that doesn't equate to my gender, you know? So I love existing in a feminine space. Effeminacy is what's most closely aligned to who I am and what feels comfortable and what feels right for me. You know, it's what makes me feel confident and beautiful and sexy, and it's how I like to exist and look. But internally, I feel like woman isn't fully encompassing of me, because while I am closely aligned with womanhood and I experience womanhood and I love femininity, I experience more than just that. You know, internally, I feel more fluid. I feel more genderqueer. I feel more non-binary because I don't agree with the idea of finite, you know, black and white gender. I just don't think the world is black and white like that. It's not binary, you know? It's just like when I came out as trans, I realized I'm bisexual because I realized sexuality isn't so finite, you know? Like, why would I deny myself the possibility of falling in love simply because of someone's gender? You know, that's just not how I feel, you know? So I'm attracted to femininity and masculinity. And internally, I have masculine and feminine traits, but I just don't feel like my gender is finite or binary, you know? So I'm more closely aligned with womanhood. I am 0% a man. I will never be a man. I never was a man. You know, he, him pronouns are very uncomfortable for me, but I love she, her pronouns. I love, you know, identifying as a woman. I love being called a daughter. I love being called an auntie. I love being called a girlfriend. Also really love genderless language. I love being referred to with they, them pronouns. I love being referred to as a sibling, as a child, as a friend, as a partner. More and more lately, I've been so much more comfortable with they, them pronouns. They, them pronouns are grammatically correct in a singular form. We use they, them pronouns every single day to refer to people that we don't know the gender of or we don't know, you know, at all. Such as like in a classroom, if someone forgot their textbook on the ground, I just said their textbook because I'm referring to a person I don't know. I don't know the gender of this person, so I call them a they. You know, we already use they, them pronouns, you know, so if I were asking like, whose notebook is this? Someone answers, oh, I think it's theirs over there. I don't know who they are, but they're right there. If you want to refer to me, you can say Rose is a content creator. They have brown hair. They have trans pride nails right now. Let's all practice they, them pronouns when referring to me. Comment down below a sentence using they, them pronouns. I feel like sometimes gender can feel limiting for me, especially when, you know, I'm just called a woman, because I'm not just a woman. I'm not just trans. There's so much more to my identity and who I am than just that, you know? I am a content creator. I am a makeup artist. I am very close to my family. I am a lover. I am a truth seeker. I am, you know, there's so much more that makes me. You know, I don't think there's a right way or a wrong way to experience gender, and I don't think that there's a, you know, wrong way to experience femininity or womanhood, because it changes throughout time and throughout different cultures. If we look at the history of gender, you know, heels were invented for men. Men used to wear huge white powdered wigs and makeup, you know. If we look way back in ancient Egyptian times, you know, the pharaohs used to wear eyeliner and, you know, so like, makeup is not gendered, clothing is not gendered. I don't think it's fair to police people's gender or how they experience it. I made a video kind of similar to this one a few years ago about how gender isn't as real as I once thought it was. You know, I think gender is as real as you make it, you know. It's a social construct, you know. It's something that we made up to kind of relate our bodies to our physical presentations, to how we function and are treated in society. I want to say to everyone out there that you're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to change your identity. You're allowed to come out as frequently as you want to. You're allowed to not know how you identify, and you're allowed to be confused by my identity. That's okay. You know, that's why I made this video, to try to help explain it maybe, you know, so feel free to comment additional questions down below. So long as you're respectful, I'm really open to questions. You know, but all I ask is that you respect me, you respect my identity, and that you understand that this is real and that, you know, I'm not the only one out there and neither are you. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you all in the next one.